Everybody good to go? Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our board meeting. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, will you call the roll?
Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zara?
Here.
Trustee here. Trustee Sheehan is absent. Trustee Stewart?
Here.
Trustee Silva?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
A quorum is present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Next on the agenda is public participation of agenda-related items only. Would anyone care to address the board?
Bill, right on time.
Do you two know each other or something?
We
or-
do, we do. I thought he was gonna hang me out to dry, but come on up. Sorry, Vito Francesi from Matone Restaurant, and Bill from Bill's Place. We're here to just make a couple of points on the discussion taking place for video gaming. We appreciate your consideration in the matter. As far as some things, final things we'd like you to consider, both of our businesses, as far as advertising for these slot machines, if allowed, nothing loud and obnoxious in regards to that. As far as surrounding towns, we haven't seen any uptick in crime due to video gaming. Our hours at Bill's Place and Matone Restaurant wouldn't change to accommodate earlier or later people playing any normal than our business hours are currently. That's all I have. Bill, did you have anything?
Hi. Well, I have to say, I don't need, personally me I'm talking, I don't need favor, I need your understanding. You want to help? Fine. You don't? Fine again. I have no choice. I have to try to survive, and I don't know for how long. Things they are difficult, and every day get more and more. I'm not gonna stay longer. I'm up to 8 o'clock, and I don't know how much can infect the village if you allowed me to have the video games. That's all. And I don't want it to over and over and over to come here to beg you. No, I'm not gonna do that. I must have you understand. I don't, that's fine too. That's all.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Vito.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We will be discussing, we'll have a discussion on it tonight.
One more I have to say, don't have me step by. We'll let you know tomorrow, next month, because I have to go different direction. Bill, no. Bill, yes, but to let me know by April, it's too late somehow, you know?
Gotcha.
That's all.
Yes, sir.
Evening. My name's Christopher Chin, lifelong resident of LaGrange Park, and I work for a local municipality, Forest Park to be exact. I'm speaking on behalf as a resident, not as a Village of Forest Park employee. If you guys know, Forest Park actually went through this process a number of years ago and is actually the only town in Illinois that actually banned video gaming. Pros and cons, anybody can ask me. I lived through it. the business owners themselves, I see these two guys here, they're kind of fighting for their lives. We all lived through COVID. Small businesses are actually, living by a shoestring. If we want to talk about, actually bringing video gaming to LaGrange Park, I think it's a great discussion. To be honest, you guys are like maybe 4 or 5 years behind the game, behind the ball. You look to the towns next to you, they already have it. So issues of safety, criminal activity, those sort of things, look to the other towns. Stats are there. As far as revenue for the village, that's there too. Something a couple of blocks away from Bill's, you got the Cordial. It's one of the largest grossing gaming institutions in the state. I think they draw in, $20,000 a week. You can't, deny that. In Forest Park, one of the issues when they got rid of it, was actually coming up with that revenue stream, and they're still fighting with it. So something to consider. Elected officials, you have to think about the town in and of itself, but also the future of it. I don't know how many liquor licenses or actually establishments would be in LaGrange Park, but again, that's something that for you guys to decide. And it's also something for you guys to figure out through zoning, through ordinances. That's something that you can actually control. So they're talking about signs, hours, those sorts of things. That's all controllable through zoning. I know that there was talk tonight about the information. I know it's kind of up front, but anybody who has any questions, I'll answer them. Obviously, Chief
Chris,
Contois.
I have one question. We don't usually do this at this time of the meeting, but I'm going to anyway. Why'd Forest Park reverse?
Why? It came about it actually went through a binding referendum. That's why they reversed it. So it actually came about, it was actually in place for about 1.5 years, and then it went to a binding referendum and was voted on, and it was banned.
So why was the referendum placed?
Why? I believe it was political.
But you had to have enough residents to not want it to get the referendum passed.
Correct.
Okay, did something happen or? No, we don't know.
I have my speculations,
Okay.
but, in a public forum, I don't think I can give it to you.
Are you sorry they did that?
Of course.
Okay.
It's actually revenue that the village in and of itself doesn't really need to monitor, or it doesn't cost the village anything. It's passive income. If you think business, what is it going to cost, to make money for the village, revenue streams? It's a passive revenue stream. It's actually not on the village, it's on the state and the business owners. So it's actually up to them. All you have to do is just cash the check. That's it. There aren't that many, in a town like LaGrange Park, I don't see that many opportunities as far as, businesses. It's not like downtown LaGrange, or you're talking about Brookfield, Westchester, that have large swaths of businesses where they can actually open these things up. LaGrange Park is pretty small. The business district is small. So, I think it's controllable, and I don't think it's going to get out of hand. But I think everything counts. So, for example, in Forest Park, there was a number of businesses that actually closed, shortly thereafter, because they weren't able to, COVID didn't help, but I can count at least 3 of them that closed and they couldn't survive. And those businesses are still empty. So I understand where, these businesses are coming from.
Thank you for being here, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, consent agenda. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes, 1, Village Board meeting October 25th, 2022. 2, Village Board work session, November 9th, 2022. 3, Village Board closed session, November 9th, 2022. B, action, renewal agreement with Municipal GIS Partners. Motions 1, to approve an agreement with Municipal GIS Partners Incorporated, and 2, to authorize the village manager to execute the necessary documents. C, action 2022-23 salt purchase contract, open purchase order. Motion to approve an open purchase order with Cargill Incorporated Salt Division not to exceed a total amount of $65,000. D, action 2022 police pension municipal compliance report. Motion to accept the 2022 police pension municipal compliance report. E, action authorization to destroy executive session recordings. Motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the destruction of certain verbatim records of closed meetings. F, action accounts payable and payroll summary. Motion 1, to authorize the president and chairperson of the finance committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks and payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. And motion 2, to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and the next village board meeting, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its next meeting.
Motion to approve consent agenda is presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Motion?
So move.
Second. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, moving on to our next item is village manager's report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be right back. I have 2 items to report on this evening. The first one is hot off the presses, and it's regarding the village's now annual Santa Parade, hosted by the LaGrange Park Fire Department with assistance from all departments to make it a success. It's been a wonderful event that we've enjoyed the past couple of years. So the fire department is eagerly planning a Santa Parade for Sunday, December 18th at 4:30 p.m. Along with the Santa Parade, they will be conducting food collections, and the details are all being ironed out. The food collections that we receive from folks that line up around the route or provide them to identified locations, those proceeds or those donations will go to St. Barb's, Beds Plus, and the Westchester Food Pantry. And as part of the parade, we will be seeking donations for non-perishable food items. So that's exciting. It's a lot of fun. The second item is not hot off the presses. It has been put out there, but I want to add a little highlight to it, and that is regarding the appointment of our next finance director. The village is pleased to announce our intention to appoint Austin Hack as the LaGrange Park's next finance director and village treasurer at the December 13th village board meeting. Mr. Hack brings over 7 years of experience in local government finance from his tenure with the village of Dwight, Illinois, where he has served in the position of finance director since 2015. We are very excited about Austin's arrival here at the village, although we do want to thank the 2 gentlemen that have provided their professional assistance as interim during that time. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Julia. Austin is starting, what's the date?
His first day in the office will be December 19th,
Ooh.
so...
I thought he could come on the 14th with Santa, but I guess not. Chief, can you
He
bring?
will be here the night of the 13th.
Thank you, Julia.
You bet.
Okay, moving on, Administration Committee, Trustee Council.
Thank you, President DeCipio. The administration report is as follows. There will be a tree lighting ceremony taking place on Friday, December 2nd at 6:00 p.m. at Memorial Park. The celebration will include performances, refreshments, and other festivities. Residents are invited to bring the whole family to this free event and enjoy hot chocolate, caroling, live music, and lots of holiday cheer. Village offices will be closed on Thursday, November 24th and Friday, November 25th in observance of Thanksgiving. Regular office hours will resume on Monday, November 28th at 9 a.m. Would you like me to go to the next item directly?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you. Amendments to the LaGrange Park Municipal Code alcoholic beverages. The general background. Number of licenses. At the October 11, 2022 and November 9, 2022 Village Board meetings, the Village Board discussed modifying Section 112.20A of the Municipal Code to provide for additional Class B liquor licenses. The Municipal Code regulates the total number of permanent liquor licenses and states that the total number of Class A and Class B licenses issued shall not exceed 7. Bill's Place and Level Up have each submitted a letter to the Liquor Control Commissioner requesting a Class B liquor license. The village does not have any Class A or Class B liquor licenses currently available. Based on the Village Board's direction, staff has prepared the attached ordinance amending the municipal code to increase the total number of available Class A and Class B liquor licenses from 7 to 9. If the ordinance is approved, the village president, as Liquor Control Commissioner, has the sole administrative authority to issue the new licenses under Section 112.16 if the applicants meet the criteria. The village board does not vote on whether to issue the licenses to specific businesses. Terms of license. Each liquor license issued by the village terminates on the December 31st next following its issuance. There is no proration of the initial license fee except for the Class C and Class D licenses. Based on direction from the Liquor Control Commissioner, staff has prepared the attached ordinance amending Section 112.18 of the Municipal Code to establish a proration of the initial fee for Class B license. If the ordinance is approved, the initial license fee for a Class B license of $800 shall be reduced in proportion, to the full calendar months which have expired in the calendar year in which such license is issued. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the attached ordinances. This item is for discussion and action. We have received the staff recommended ordinances, the wording for that in our packet. And so therefore, at this moment, I'd like to make a motion, to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 112, Section 20 of Title 11 of the LaGrange Park Municipal Code to increase the total number of authorized Class A and Class B liquor licenses from 7 to 9.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Trustee Council?
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that this will be a step in the right direction as far as providing some added revenue source to the businesses that are seeking these licenses. And I truly believe that they're steadfast and they're committed to staying in the village and providing good quality, not only food but services as well. Level Up is relatively new to the village, and I think that a lot of their focus is on their moving forward with their business and their business model. So I would definitely support giving the liquor license to both businesses. Thank you.
Okay, on the first motion, discussion. Trustee Silva?
I really don't have anything more to add. I think I'm in full support of it.
Okay. Trustee Stewart?
I'm in full support as well.
Thank you. Trustee Zora?
I support this.
Trustee Lautner?
I support it as well.
Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Launer.
Yes.
Trustee Zara.
Yes.
Trustee Council.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Silva.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue on.
Thank you, President DeCipio. The second motion is a motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 112, Section 18 of Title 11 of the LaGrange Park Municipal Code to establish a proration of the initial fee for Class B licenses. The documentation is
Yeah.
included in our packet tonight.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion, trustee council?
Again, Mr. President, I agree with the proration, being so late in the year. They shouldn't have to absorb the full yearly cost, and I'm in full support of prorating the rate.
Great, thank you, trustee council. Any comments from the board? Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just going to add that I'd often wondered why we hadn't done this before. I know there were reasons that we had talked about, but I think this is certainly a right move in this direction to make that prorated.
I thank the liquor commissioner. Any other comments? Trustee Silva, anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
Trustee Zorro? No. Trustee Stewart? Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zorro?
Yes.
Trustee
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Continuing on,
Continue on, please.
video gambling discussion, additional information. The purpose, to provide the village board with additional information for their recent discussion on the Illinois Video Gaming Act. General background. At the November 9th work session, staff provided an overview presentation of the State of Illinois Video Gaming Act and how municipalities can exercise local control over video gambling within their jurisdictions. At the conclusion of the board's discussion, they directed staff to provide a timeline for a non-binding advisory referendum question for the upcoming election. That information is as follows. Would you like me to read all of that?
Everybody's read it, correct? No, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, based on the information that we received from staff, this item is for our discussion purposes tonight only. We will not be voting on the movement tonight. Thank you.
Okay, you want to start the discussion?
Sure.
Trustee Council?
Sure. I think that in light of the comments that were made tonight, and I do feel that the businesses are terribly suffering financially. Their costs are continuing to climb. Their employees that are part of their establishments, they're lucky to have the employees that they have, period. With the impacts of COVID, there are fewer and fewer people that actually want to go to work and want to have a job. So I truly applaud the efforts that Bill at Bill's Place, and also the efforts of Mr. Franchese and Matone for continuing to keep staff hired, and also to bring a good product to people that frequent their establishments. I really see no reason to even conduct an advisory referendum at this time. Basically, we're elected officials and we're here to make decisions not only that would benefit our residents, but we're here to make decisions that will help our business community as well. Being a small community, I feel that our tax base is limited in the amount of revenue that we could possibly generate to the village with minimal disturbance. I would wholeheartedly support, as Mr. Chin pointed out, we can affect wording in ordinances to control the amount of hours that they're open, to control potential advertising for it. And I definitely don't see LaGrange Park becoming a bed of crime because we're allowing these video gaming licenses. You know, just in looking at the report that was given to us a couple of weeks ago, I think that the amount of dollars that are being generated, not only in Westchester, but in Brookfield and other area communities, I definitely think that it would help not only the businesses, but LaGrange Park as well. So I would wholeheartedly support us giving the go-ahead for them to move forward with the licensing process as opposed to having a non-binding referendum based on the timeline that is presented to us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Council. Trustee Silva?
Based on everything that was shared at last meeting and from the report here, I would be in full support of us voting on it. I think that I saw some of the neighboring towns, maybe something that we could do is possibly do a 24-month pilot program to see if it works in LaGrange Park. If crime were to spike, or if we were to see anything that was detrimental to the village, then we could always pull those licenses. So I think for the local businesses, yes, we have to do what's best for the village as the residents, but also for the businesses. And they're hurting. And Bill has said it over and over. If more income doesn't come into his establishment, he'll be forced to close his doors. And I think as a village, we also have a responsibility, like I said, not only to the residents, but also to the businesses. So I would be in full support of taking a vote on this item.
Thank you, Trustee Silva. Trustee Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Trustee Council and Trustee Silva. I do think that as elected officials, this is a difficult decision that we need to own and take action on our own. I think that given the timeline that we have here, it'll just be kicking the can, and I think that we need to just sort of make a decision fairly quickly, like Bill talked about earlier today. I don't think crime or anything like that is going to be an issue. I think it's more so just what does this mean for the future of the village as far as embarking in this uncharted territory. So, I can't imagine how much the businesses are hurting right now. I think we have to be dynamic as far as how we think about things. However, I don't think that gaming is going to be the solution necessarily, but I think it's worth discussing as these are businesses that are pretty popular. I go to both businesses frequently, so I think it's something for us to consider as a board, and I don't think it should go through the whole rigmarole of a non-binding referendum.
Thank you, Trustee Stewart. Trustee Zora?
Thank you. I just had some questions based on the presentation that we had at the last meeting, and then some questions about what the requirements would be. So as far as I understand, each business can only have 6 machines, which would generate about $18,000 a piece for the village, approximately. So, and I'm curious about, because we did have revenue for what Brookfield earned based on their machines, since that was brought up this evening. What does Brookfield earn, and how many machines do they have in the village?
Brookfield has 14 establishments with video gaming and a total of 80 VGTs.
And then the revenue.
The revenue in the last year was approximately $265,000.
And that's for the entire year?
That is for the last year, from October of 21 to September of 2022.
And is that the village's revenue?
That's the municipal share.
Okay. And that's with 80 machines. How many machines can LaGrange Park have if we allow this with businesses that have liquor licenses and serve food?
Businesses, as you just stated, are allowed up to 6 VGTs each, and right now we have it'll be 9 businesses with the Class B liquor license.
48 maximum. 48 maximum.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess my concern with this is this a Band-Aid? I mean, I understand that everyone is suffering, but is this really gonna fix the problem, or is this just gonna change the business model so it'll be more focused on gambling now and not what the previous business model was, food and alcohol? I mean, I think that's the issue with some of the other municipalities that have the standalone businesses, is obviously we said we would not do that, but the business model has changed. And if we allow this in Bill's place, is he closing the ice cream parlor? Where are these going? I mean, what's happening? Like, where are these gonna go at Matone? Because I know you have to have a sight line, so are they gonna be in the bar, so then you won't have less bar space? I guess I need to know how this is gonna work if it's approved.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I would
Julia.
just like to make, I guess, a general comment. I think the total amount of revenue that can be generated, or the total amount of video gaming terminals that is possible in LaGrange Park, really depends on how we regulate it. There are a number of factors that we have to consider in regulating it. I think there is the ability to regulate eligibility for video gaming based upon how much from that business is derived from non-gaming in order to be eligible for the gaming license. Correct? General comments, but thought they might be helpful.
Great, thank you, Julia. Yeah, I guess in response to Trustee Zora's questions, do we put the cart before the horse before the cart, or how do we, I mean, do we ask how they're going to place them, where they're going to place them, whether we're agreeable where they're placing them before we decide we're going to do it? I mean,
So I will say I'm not going to approve it if I don't know how this is gonna work. So if there's a plan in place where they're gonna go in the restaurants or how this is gonna work, I can't just blindly approve it.
yes, go ahead, Kathy.
Just procedurally, I think a few observations. Number one, we can't really take a vote on anything tonight because this is for discussion only. So
Thank you.
the board can direct the staff whether or not to proceed down the path of the referendum, because that's on the agenda, but you can't vote on it. If you can also direct the staff to come up with some potential restrictions and guidelines for consideration at the next meeting, and then at the next meeting it can be for discussion and vote, discussion and action, I mean. So that's how you can get at how it can be regulated, because there's a couple of things that would simultaneously happen in order to allow video gaming terminals. One, you'd have to repeal the ban, so you'd be repealing an ordinance that bans it. Mm-hmm. Two, you would put in some provisions that allow it, to the extent that those provisions need to be adopted in the zoning code. We have to have a public hearing, but the board could, so that's a whole separate process. It has to go to the PZC first. But, you know, the board could approve the parts that change the municipal code subject to adoption of the zoning code regulations.
So I know Bill said he can't wait till April. So is this still gonna take 4 months potentially, even if we move forward? Not tonight, I understand, but still could take. It'd be well into the new year before a decision is made on this.
I imagine that it would take some time to be able to identify potential regulations that might be applicable to something that we would be working with or considering, getting feedback to the board. I think it's a process. It could take 4 months, could take even more. But it would be a discussion point that people could be a part of and observe, and that might provide some gratification about how this is developing in terms of how serious the board is looking into the issue and considering the elements
Okay.
It can bring greater understanding, I think. We've gone from a general overview presentation. We got to bring it down to the nitty-gritty regulations for how that's going to work in LaGrange Park.
And some of the regulations will be the municipal code, which could be presented to the board at some point. If the trustees direct the board, direct the staff to do that, they can come up with some amendments to the municipal code. And if we have to amend the zoning code, that can be researched as well, and we can report back at the December meeting or whenever that's ready to be reported on. So you can have some sense of where we're going before we go there. You know, I think that in a case like this, it might make sense for the board to take an initial look at an ordinance, not to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but if there is a zoning ordinance that has to be sent to the PCC, the board can formally review that and formally refer it to the PCC. So you would know what was going to the PCC at the same time you approved the municipal code amendments.
That's a good point.
Okay.
It would still go through the hearing process, but you would all get a chance to weigh in.
Okay, thank you.
Kath, could the board direct staff differently than what is placed? Just for say, if we wanted to bypass the referendum and just have staff provide an ordinance to revoke what we already have on record and vote on it, can we do that now?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's similar to what you directed the board to do at the work session meeting. At the work session meeting, you directed the board to give you further information on the timetable for a non-binding referendum and whether we had time to do that. And that's what has come before you today for a further discussion. So you can provide whatever feedback is appropriate to the staff, short of voting on the ultimate question of whether you're going to allow video gaming.
Okay.
That's what we can't vote on.
So we could direct them down a different path.
Correct.
Okay, Trustee Lautner? I'm sorry, Trustee Zor, were you done? Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I've given a lot of thought to this as well since our last meeting and directed staff to put together a timeline and done a little bit additional resident information gathering and feedback and consideration of the impact on staff. That I think in consideration of our business community, we do need to attempt to move a little bit more rapidly than the prospects of a non-binding referendum, and to give them a little bit more firm direction, so to speak, to try to come to a conclusion on this quicker than what this would take for all parties involved, not only the impact on staff, but also the continuing impact on our business community. And, considering not only resident feedback that does appear to be more favorable than I anticipated might have been, and the fact that I think we as a village want to try to encourage business success and business growth, and I think there's a lot of risks if we don't pursue this a little bit more rapidly. So picking up on council's comments and suggestions of how we might consider, I think I'd like to see if we can structure something that would allow us to get a little bit more firm information as to how we might proceed, and get ourselves to a point where we can maybe vote on this a little bit more quickly than April, May, June, thereabouts. Whatever the appropriate way in which to structure that might be. Sounds like I know that we cannot form any motion and voting opportunity on whether or not we approve that or not this evening, but whatever would be recommended from how we might direct staff to put some structure to this, how it might look, for potentially having a forum for doing some voting at the next meeting, I think would behoove us to try to move forward a little bit more rapidly than the prospects of the non-binding referendum that staff has already spent some work on, to tell you the truth.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that the board is and I'm being general here, the board is not in favor of a non-binding referendum at this point and would prefer to see staff come up with some language, either revoking our current ordinance, prohibiting video gaming, and then present that, and the board would vote on that motion. And that would tell you whether we want it or not, correct?
That,
Yeah.
But I think in addition to just an ordinance allowing video gaming, the staff is gonna want to provide some conditions and restrictions. And we saw in the presentation at the last meeting, there's quite a wide variety of restrictions we can implement, and I'm sure that the staff will have recommendations about that. So the portions of the restrictions that belong in the municipal code is something that we could vote on at the next meeting or whenever it's appropriate to do that. But again, the zoning restrictions may need a separate hearing process.
Right, but first
But I have not looked at that, and I'm not prepared right now to say that there has to be a separate zoning hearing on this. There may have to, I just haven't looked at it.
Mr. President, one thought is staff could develop a list of recommendations if we were to rescind our ordinance. This is what it would look like as a next step.
Well, yeah, I think that's great, but I think the board is requesting that we have something to vote on next meeting. Whether to move forward with video gaming.
We can include a motion
Okay,
that, you know, in considering the recommendation, in looking at the various elements of regulation and recommended regulations, we can put a motion that would direct staff to proceed forward to drafting ordinances
right.
that allow for video gaming per the desires of, as directed by the village board, something like that.
So it would give you direction that this is where we're going, we want to go towards video gaming.
Right.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that? See what do you have staff come up with a motion?
I do think 2 weeks is very quick. That is my only concern. That's very quick
It'll be tough.
as far as staff goes, staff commitment time, and also just the decision in general. I think we really need to take a little bit of a step back and say March is too long, April's too long, but 2 weeks that's aggressive. That's very aggressive.
Maybe January?
If I could make an interim suggestion. To me, from an ordinance drafting standpoint, we're not going to go from 0 to 100% in one meeting. So I think what Julia is saying is she's not going to present you with an ordinance to regulate video gaming at the next meeting, but maybe just a list of alternatives or potential restrictions, and you can say yes, no, and provide further direction to staff so that they can draft the actual ordinance for one of the January meetings, right? Is that what you're saying?
That would be correct. If you look at some of the municipalities that are regulating this, some are regulating it from different portions of their municipal code. So I think it's better to understand what we want to regulate, how we want to regulate it in accordance with the board's wishes, and then we can figure out the best place to modify the municipal code.
So we're not voting on the idea itself, we're just voting on the restrictions surrounding it if we were to move forward.
I mean, I would defer to the village attorney, but I would think you could do both. You could provide a sentiment both ways.
My concern is that I just don't want staff putting a lot of time into this if the board's going to vote it down. And if there's some way that we can come forward in 2 weeks or 4 weeks and say, yes, we're in favor, or we like the opportunity of bringing gaming to our village, at least we're for it. Now you can go ahead and get us the information that we need. But I want to make sure that the board is on board with it before you're putting all this work in, and they come back and say, well, no, we really don't want it. We just wanted to vote on it. So I don't know how we get around that. Maybe Kathy can help us.
What if the what if next month's motion was to rescind the ordinance prohibiting video gaming and direct the staff to finalize an ordinance around parameters that you will put together, and, I can help put them together. Direct the staff to prepare an ordinance in accordance with whatever you discuss in the December meeting. That way you're voting on something and you're not leaving the staff high and dry. I understand that it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation.
I guess why would we rescind it if we may not vote for it? Then it's just left in the open? I guess I don't understand that. Why would
Well,
we?
my thing is if we rescind it, we're voting on it. If we rescind it, then we're.
But why do we need to rescind it unless we approve it? Is my question.
I think that Jim is saying he doesn't want to put the staff to the task of preparing ordinances detailing restrictions until the board commits that they're willing to take a step in that direction.
I don't think the board can commit without those restrictions.
The decision is contingent on those.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I
The decision is contingent on those restrictions. I think that's
Yeah.
part of the whole, it's a risky thing.
But don't
It
we
may be
make the
open, not, but-
restrictions?
Well, I mean, just a couple of points. If we rescind our ordinance that prohibits video gaming without something in place, I would just want to make sure that legally that the village is in a good place if we're rescinding an ordinance that prohibits it. So that until those regulations get done. That would be my first kind of just area. The second thought that I had is we could have a motion that says, motion to move forward in developing regulations or move forward with video gaming subject to regulations as developed by the board. That's not, okay, so Kathy says no, so.
I think that I need to speak more with the staff on this. I think I understand what is being asked of us. And I think Julia understands it. I think you're right. If you're not comfortable rescinding the ordinance until you know what the new ordinance is going to say, then let me talk with staff and we'll see what we can put together and we'll report back at the next meeting. And if we can put something together that has enough detail to it, then we will make it for discussion and action. Otherwise, it's going to have to be for further discussion. Right? But let us work on that. I think I've taken good notes. I think I understand what people are directing.
All right, so what can we expect?
If we get into some of the detail with the regulations, I think January would be a better timeline for us rather than December, because that's just kind of a couple of weeks away. We'd have to switch gears on what we're working on. So we can prepare an item for the January work session for the board's consideration. If the board would like it sooner, we can do our best. We've got a lot on our plate.
Yeah, see, that's my only, that's it. Okay.
We've got some big development reviews that we're working on.
Right.
I don't think we should rush it.
No,
And also too, I think that when we see this timeline, as far as looking at this referendum that was put out here, that time that takes to develop that is it's a different type of time than the time it takes to look at an actual code and all of this sort of stuff. I think that's a different type of time, right? So that shouldn't be rushed, but you're also moving forward with the process versus putting materials together for public voting. You see what I'm saying? It's just two different things, I think.
Yeah.
We don't want to rush the route that we're trying to take right now. I think it's really unfair on the staff for us to ask that of them, right? So I think January is a very good, I think that's reasonable. I think it's worth us trying to consider and consider staff, consider the business. We don't want to rush this. So I think that, you know, whatever we just have to vote on as far as timeline goes, we just need to give people ample time to do the things that they need to do to prepare us for what decision we make. Because I'm back and forth with it. But that's with me not having any information on restrictions and the whole gaming concept in general. We need a lot more information to try to figure this out.
Just to give some sense of timelines, between now and when the next board packet is put together, there are 7 working days. That was my only thought. But if there's a quicker way to do that, we can talk with the village attorney.
Okay, trustee council?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a question for Attorney Keating. So my takeaway from this is that you would propose different language for, like, for each ordinance. Would we vote on a particular wording of an ordinance that we like? Say if you put 3 different scenarios together, I don't know if that's what you would be doing, or would it just be one particular ordinance that we would be looking at?
So we're not prepared to respond to that tonight.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think the direction you've given to the staff is pretty clear, and we will proceed as expeditiously as we can to give you something that you can use for further discussion or to vote on. And we all understand that you can't vote on something that says it's subject to further restrictions and further ordinances, because then what do you have? You don't have anything. So we will work on it, and I think we understand what the board is asking.
And I agree with Trustee Stewart wholeheartedly. I mean, the amount of time to get this prepared for the next work session, that's impossible. You guys have a lot going on. I'm well aware of that. So, you know, this didn't come about yesterday. It's taken a while for it to get to this point. So I would like to see staff have more time to prepare whatever they would need to prepare, you know, along with Attorney Keating too. So 2 weeks is way too quick. So I agree with Trustee Stewart.
I'm just confused, because what I heard at the beginning of our conversations here was that let's not do the referendum. We don't want to take that much time. We owe it to our businesses to get this thing moving. And we still don't know what the board feels is what they're positive or negative for it. So in fairness to our businesses who take time out to come here and sit through another meeting, what can we expect when this board can vote on whether they want gaming or not? In January?
We can put something together in January. We can try and come up with something sooner if we can reconvene with the village attorney and figure out the best options to move forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, I just want to be fair to our businesses and let them know, because right now I don't know what's up. I don't know what we're doing here.
Right, but Jim, I think what Trustee Silva or Trustee Stewart and Trustee Zora are saying is they're not prepared to vote on something to allow video gaming unless we know what the restrictions are. Some of these restrictions are statewide, and they apply to everybody. We don't have to codify them. So what I'm trying to say is let me work on it. I think the staff is heavily involved with a lot of development things for the next couple of weeks. If I can get something together and present it to the staff for their review and approval, then maybe we can come back in December, but I don't know.
Okay. Now, I agree with what everybody's saying, Trustee Stewart and Trustee Zora. They come to another meeting and we don't have an answer for them yet. And we still have an answer when that I'm hearing we're going to vote on it. Is it going to be December if we get quicker? Is it going to be January? And are we going to be voting on actually allowing it in our village and then working on restrictions, or are we going to I mean, I'm not sure when they're gonna find out whether we're gonna do it or not. January?
Well, we're not committing to that tonight because we haven't investigated the range of
Okay.
potential restrictions and ordinances, but it will be on the agenda as a discussion item or an action item. If we can make it an action item and provide an ordinance with various options in it that the board can discuss and vote on, then maybe that can be done in December. I'm hearing from the staff that that's too short of a time. But I think right now, just as we can't tell you what we're going to vote on in the next meeting in December on a lot of things, we can't tell you this very minute. We can't tell you whether we'll have a
No,
developed
it's perfectly
ordinance.
clear, I'm not asking for it this minute. What I'm asking for is, respectfully to our businesses, what can we assure them, or at least tell them, come to the next meeting, maybe we'll have it for you then? Come in January, maybe we'll have it for you then? I mean, they're telling you the urgency here. This board said the urgency at the beginning of the conversation, and now it's diluted down to, well, we need more time. And my concern is, what are we telling our businesses here? What do we tell them? Wait and see what comes up in December?
Mr. President?
Yes, trustee council?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I totally understand what you're saying. And I think that if staff and Kathy, Attorney Keating, work out language for an ordinance, I think that you should put it, and far be it for me to be the one that's saying what to do, but I think you could put that ordinance up for a motion and discussion and action and let the vote fall where it will fall. Because we need to help these businesses.
Right, we're eventually going to do that. My question is when? When are we going to tell these businesses?
As soon as staff can get the ordinance language drafted, I think then you just have to put it to a vote. I don't know if that's what we can do.
You and Kathy, you guys will get together and you guys will tell us.
Sure. I mean, we'll meet, we'll go through it, we'll come up with a game plan, we'll inform the board as soon as we have a pretty good idea about how quickly we can get it done. We certainly want to we serve at the pleasure of the board. We certainly want to be able to do that, but we also want to put together a good ordinance for the community. We do. So we'll make sure that we keep the folks in the audience apprised of the timeline. We'll keep them posted on the development. If we can come up with something in December, we will. If we don't feel, based upon the information, it'll be January. But we can make every effort to go as quickly as we can.
Okay, so December maybe, January maybe, both, either one. Whatever we get to.
We can do December if we can, otherwise it's January at the work session.
Right.
Yeah.
So either December or January. And we'll have plenty of time to let them know.
I'm sorry.
There'll be plenty of time to let our businesses know so they don't have to come here if we're not going to vote on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I talk to both Bill and Vito pretty frequently.
Okay, any other comments?
Jim, Mr. President, I also want to just note that I think that us doing the due diligence and getting Kathy involved that's actually a step that's important.
Oh, sure.
It's not just us saying, well, we'll discuss it or we'll vote on it or this and that. We're not really kicking the can on it. I think these are very important steps that we should really consider and take seriously versus just, telling Vito and Bill to come back in 2 weeks or come back in 4 weeks. I think they understand the importance and all of the considerations that we have to hold, and I don't think it's unreasonable. I think January should be really the work session. I think that should probably be the more reasonable time frame versus December. And I know that's having them come more and this and that, but I mean, we're at least moving forward in the right direction.
We'll get it as soon as we get it. We'll do it as soon as we can, as soon as we have something ready that is concrete, that is definite, and that you can review and vote on. And we'll do it as fast as we can. That's all we can do. And we'll keep the businesses apprised so they'll know when it's coming back up for a discussion and a vote.
Trustee Langer?
Yeah, I would just, ask our business community to consider this as a favorable step moving forward. We do want to do it right. We do want to move forward versus a non-binding referendum, which I think we all came to the conclusion would be kicking the can down the road. I think we feel the urgency. We do understand what our business community is up against. So, my co-trustees' comments here, doing this the right way and moving forward as quickly as possible. I think, I hope that that's what they take away from this is, we want to make every effort to come to a conclusion as quickly as possible for you, and we do understand the urgency of it.
Julie, do you have another comment?
No?
No, nothing? Anybody else? That's it? Okay, let's move on. Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report the building activities for October 2022. 96 permits were issued in October compared to 93 in 2021. 878 permits have been issued year-to-date compared to 917 in 2021. Estimated construction costs for the month were just over $1.8 million, which is 71% higher than October 2021. Permit fees collected were $35,000, which is also nearly 71% higher compared to October 2021. 188 inspections were conducted this past October compared to 155 in 2021. One inspection was not approved. 1,636 inspections were conducted year-to-date compared to 1,617. Following additional inspections and additional fire alarm and fire sprinkler testing, a temporary occupancy permit was approved for the remaining spaces at Dubach Electric. The business license for Alphabet Learning Center was issued and the facility was able to submit for DCFS inspection. During the month, Patrick and Dean responded to an incident involving a vehicle striking and going through the front wall of A Squared Deal Glass building at 1140 Maple. Patrick assisted with providing instruction on temporary shoring and framing. Patrick attended the PZC meeting where the owner of 618 Ashland received approval for 2 variances for subdividing the lot. A great amount of work and inspections have taken place at Andy's Custard. A delay on some exterior work occurred when an underground tank was found on the property in which permit removal had to be coordinated with the Office of the State Fire Marshal. The tentative opening date is December 9th. Many underground utility footing foundation inspections were conducted at Plymouth Place. Most of the masonry walls sections for the parking structure have been completed. Work for Happier Than Now at 1016 East 31st Street has still been moving along. Patrick conducted and approved inspections for fire stopping and insulation, and that is all I have to report.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Engineering Capital Projects, Trustee Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. M&J Asphalt Paving Company started construction on 26th Street, resurfacing project between Kemen and Maple Avenue. Defective drainage structures were restructured and replaced. Sections of curb, sidewalk, and driveways were replaced. The pavement was milled and patched. The level binder was replaced over the entire street. Final surfacing, landscaping, and stripping will be completed in November. Plans for the Park Road water main replacement project were submitted to the Illinois EPA for the water main construction permit. The project is scheduled for bidding early 2023 with construction plan for the spring and summer of 23. The project involves replacing the existing 6-inch water main with 10 and 8-inch water main between Ogden and Harding Avenue and on Richmond Avenue between Park Road and Brainerd Avenue. The scope of work entails reconnecting all water surfaces to the new main, replacing disturbed sidewalks, driveways, and curbs, restoring the parkways, and patching the street. The MWRD has opened the application process for their Stormwater Partnership Program. The village submitted a pre-application form for the Central Area Sewer Separation Project. Under this program, the MWRD can contribute funding for selected projects that address flooding and drainage issues within the community. The full application is due January 13th, 2023. The village will file the full application in the hope of receiving some matching funds for the project. MWRD award decisions are not expected until late spring and early summer. And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Stewart. Moving on to Public Safety Committee, Trustee Silva.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Police Department summary of activities for October 22 are as follows. The total number of crimes this year are significantly lower than last year, with 283 reported this year compared to 364 last year. These numbers are trending pre-pandemic numbers. Traffic enforcement is at 2,361 total tickets issued through October 22. Overall police activity is 79% higher to last year, with 1,543 total incidents reported in the month of October 22, compared to 672 total incidents in October 21. Of those 1,543 total incidents, 66 were assisted to the fire department, 366 were self-initiated building or park checks, 292 were traffic stops, and 49 were closed home checks. Department members attended 223.5 hours of training, along with the completion of required monthly online training and Lexipool daily training bulletins. Police department staff assisted with several Friday night Nazareth football games. The chief attended the International Chiefs of Police Conference in Dallas, Texas. PD staff, in conjunction with the DEA, participated in the annual Drug Take Back Day on October 29th, collected over 75 pounds of expired or unused pharmaceutical drugs. Thanks to everyone who dropped off items for proper disposal. As a reminder, the police department has a drop-off box in the lobby available for residents during normal business hours. PD staff participated in the second annual Burger Bash in conjunction with Postal 31 and the Grange Park Ace Hardware. Over $8,000 was raised for the Illinois Special Olympics Torch Run, which helped the PD surpass their 15,000 yearly goal. The Board of Police Commissioners met and finalized the patrol officer eligibility list. The PD took part in the fire department's open house as well as a library trunk or treat event. A friendly reminder about securing one's personal property at all times. Please lock your vehicles and residences, especially during overnight hours. If you are going on vacation, please utilize the new online vacation watch portal, frontlinepss.com/LaGrange Park, or log on to the village website and access the portal under the police department page. If you do not have internet access, feel free to fill out a vacation watch card at the PD between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Moving on to the fire department activities for October 22. EMS incidents this month, 150. There have been 1,442 year-to-date compared to 1,432 year-to-date in 21. Fire rescue incidents this month, 49. There have been 489 year-to-date compared to 434 year-to-date in 21. The open house was held on October 1st with great weather and a great turnout of residents. In addition to educational activities, OSFM, Arson, K9, GG attended with Special Agent Kushner. Also, the new Mavis Division 10 Communications Command vehicle was on display along with Truck 81 from NBC's Chicago Fire television show. Also, over $1,000 was raised for Camp IME. Many fire safety presentations and events related to Fire Prevention Week took place, including sessions for Ready Teddy Preschool and Brook Park, Barnesdale, and Forest Road schools. Also presented to a group of older residents at Bethlehem Woods and participated in silent parade honoring firefighters lost in line of duty. Staff also assisted with the Haunted Trolley event with an open house hosted at Fire Station number 2. Staff traveled to Pierce to conduct a final factory inspection of our new demo pumper. Staff conducted fire evacuation drills at Ready Teddy and Park Junior High and witnessed an evacuation drill of the assisted living and memory care areas of Plymouth Place required by IDPH. Personnel continued to evaluate and conduct testing of SCBAs from various manufacturers. Additional fire alarm and sprinkler testing took place at Dubac Electric and Murphy's. Also, the fire sprinkler water service line was flushed for Andy's project. The foundation's annual appreciation dinner took place during the month. The fire chief attended portions of the Illinois Fire Chiefs Conference and participated in the Mavis Division 10 Hazmat Response Team semi-annual incident drill. After several weekends, personnel completed annual testing of all fire department hosts. This concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Silva. Moving on, Public Works Committee, trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. Staff repaired 2 water main breaks this month and replaced 2 lead service lines. The final scheduled brush pickup of the year took place in October. The village leaf collection program began this month. Nearly 37 tons of leaves were collected in October. Staff attended training seminars with the topic of confined spaces. Fall tree planting programs were completed this month with 53 trees planted. Sidewalk replacements, concrete work was conducted in October. 98 sidewalk squares were replaced, along with 260 linear feet of curb from the year's excavations. Sidewalk grinding also took place in the center section of the town north of 31st. Hydrant flushing was performed on the west side of town and will be completed in November. Street patches and parkway restoration continued from previous utility excavations. Superintendent Jan Deck graduated from the Illinois Public Service Institute. Congratulations. The first week of the month, Director Ratty made the trip to Effingham to attend his graduation. Representatives from DPW attended the ribbon cutting for the permeable brick intersections, accompanied by village staff and MWRD. Maintenance and equipment set up to the winter fleet began in preparation for the winter season. GIS work has continued collecting data on village-owned assets, along with continued training throughout the village. Water meters were read in section number 1. 15 monthly bacterial water samples were taken. Various water and sewer work orders were completed, along with resident tree concerns and general construction inquiries. Routine maintenance to the department fleet and equipment was performed as well. And that is all I have. Thank you. And congratulations, JJ.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Moving on to Finance Committee, trustee Laudner.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have several items for discussion and action. First of all, the monthly report, which is also the 6-month fiscal year report. General fund revenue is at about 42.5% of the annual budget of $10,575,350, which is at $4,498,268. We're currently $720,616 less than last year at this point, primarily as a result of Cook County not yet issuing the second installment of property tax bills. It appears now that the second installment tax bills will be issued around December 1st and payable by December 31st, and collections will come to the village in early 2023. To date, the village has collected approximately $34,000 in property tax revenues versus a budget of $3,880,000. By comparison, the village received $1.8 million in property tax revenues as of October 31st of 2021. And the details are that utility taxes are higher by about $30,341 or 12.1%, due primarily to an increase in natural gas tax receipts as prices have increased. Despite the challenging economy, state sales tax revenues are slightly up $17,391 year over year at $462,905. State income tax revenues have increased $200,557 or almost 20% to $1,200,000. And personal property tax replacement tax revenue is at $45,273, higher than a year ago. Business and liquor license revenues are $16,000 or $12,950 respectively. That should be and $12,950 respectively, which is significantly higher compared to a year ago. Permit receipts are up almost $299,000 compared to the prior year. Charges for services are higher by about $66,000 or 13.5%, mainly due to increased ambulance fee receipts. Fines are down about $25,000 or 30.3%. And halfway through the fiscal year, total general expenditures are at $4,540,041, which is approximately 47% of the total budget expenditure of $10,772,315. Our expenditures are at $23,204, higher than last year, which is primarily due to the timing of the police pension fund cost and paramedic service costs. And most importantly, overall expenditures for all departments are within expectations midway through the fiscal year. That completes the monthly and semi-annual report. Let's see here. Now, bear with me. The next topic is regarding the audit services and the request for authorization of additional expenses. The background on this is that the village is required by state law to submit an annual audit performed by a certified public accounting firm. In January of 2021, the village signed a 2-year service agreement with BKD, which is now called Forvis, for auditing services. The service agreement included a total cost of $35,700 to conduct this year's annual comprehensive financial report. With the village's finance director leaving in May, the audit field work and subsequent document review was challenging, to say the least. Additionally, Forvis reported that the additional work completed by their firm fell outside of the scope of the agreement as follows. We required and requested their services for adjustments for 2 capital grants, new standards for rental service resources, additional work on deferred inflow of resources, additional work on property tax receivables, ambulance receivables, and other receivables, additional review of redevelopment agreements and audit extension, and the delay of the county's 2021 property tax levy. Forvis completed the work necessary for the audit extension of December 26, 2022. Staff anticipates that the audit will be complete in the coming days with a presentation at the December 13th Village Board meeting. While we have received some invoices for the additional work associated with the audit, Forvis estimates that the total cost of the audit will exceed the cost in the agreement by as much as $15,000. Staff recommends that the Village Board authorize additional funds to complete the work necessary for the fiscal year 22 comprehensive audit. It should be fiscal year 2022 comprehensive audit. So, Mr. President, Board, I'd like to submit a motion to authorize an additional $15,000 in expenses associated with the additional work provided by Forvis, previously known as BKD, in order to complete audit services for fiscal year 2022.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not a surprise. We didn't know what the amount was going to be, but as a result of change in leadership in that area and the additional costs associated with additional requirements, it's actually a pretty reasonable amount because they've done a lot of work for us. So I certainly support moving forward with approving this.
Any comments from the board? Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart? Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue on, Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next item for discussion and action is regarding the 2022 property tax levy. The purpose of this is to consider the approval of those proposed 2022 property tax levies and bond abatement ordinances. We have gone through this in previous meetings, but to recap, because of the importance of it, the background on it is the Illinois property tax extension limitation, which is known as the PTEL, restricts the village's annual property tax levy. The PTEL limits the amount the village may increase the aggregate levy each year to the lesser of 5% or the change in the consumer price index. The term aggregate levy is specifically defined by the Truth in Taxation Law to include the corporate and special purpose levies and excludes levies for debt service. For the 2022 levy, the PTEL CPI consumer price index change is 5% and is therefore the limiting factor. The PTEL authorizes the village to collect additional taxes on new property value. However, as the village will not know the actual amount of new value until well after the tax levy ordinance is due to the county, an estimated increase of 2% of the equalized assessed value has been incorporated into the levy estimate calculations to ensure all potential new value is included. The county will then reduce the village's actual extension to the amount allowed under the PTEL. Village Board approved an estimated aggregate levy for 2022 at the October board meeting for $4,081,969, which is 4.9% above the estimated 2021 extension of $3,889,446. As the village's estimated aggregate levy is less than a 5% increase, a public hearing is not required under the Truth in Taxation Law. Unless directed otherwise, the county clerk is required to add 3% to the village's aggregate levy to offset losses due to uncollectible taxes. Based on the village's collection history, the 2022 levy ordinance directs the county to reduce the loss factor to 2% based on the collection history, except for debt service. This additional amount does not increase the total levy allowed under the PTEL. We have this evening 4 proposed ordinances that are attached to our packet that we received and this memo. The first ordinance authorizes the county clerk to extend the village's proposed 2022 property tax levy. The second ordinance provides the county clerk direction on how to reduce the village's 2022 property tax levy in the likely event that the aggregate levy exceeds the PTEL allowed amount. As in the past, the village is directing the county clerk to apply any reduction due to PTEL to corporate or general levy. By following this course of action, special purpose amounts such as for the police pension will be fully levied. The third ordinance is to fully abate the property tax levy for the 2014 sewer refunding bonds. The original bonds were issued in 2006 for sewer infrastructure projects. While the village pays for the bonds with sewer fee revenue, the bonds are backed by an annual property tax levy included in the bond ordinance. The village must direct the county clerk to abate this property tax each year or the bond levy will be extended. The village's 2022 property tax levy will also include a debt service amount for the 2016 road and fire bonds approved by referendum. The debt service annual levy amounts were included in the bond ordinance previously filed with the county. The 2022 debt service levy is $1,246,000. The actual bond levy extension will include a 5% loss factor to ensure adequate funds are available to pay the debt service. And then the fourth and final proposed ordinance abates a portion of the 2016 bond levy. Due to the 5% loss factor and interest income, the village currently has a projected fund balance in the debt service fund that's approximately $40,000 above the amount that's actually needed for paying principal and interest. As a result, the board may abate a portion of the 2016 bond levy. Staff is recommending an abatement amount of $30,000, which along with the 2022 loss factor will maintain a sufficient fund balance for potential property tax refunds. And of course, staff does recommend village board review and discuss the attached materials at tonight's board meeting. So the actions requested is the following 4 motions. I'll start with one each. First one is submit a motion to approve an ordinance providing for the annual tax levy for the village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2022 and ending April 30, 2023.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second, discussion, trustee Lautner?
We have discussed this multiple times and fielded various questions. It is straightforward. We're within our limits of what we can collect. We have been a little bit under the gun, knowing that we have not been able to receive, all of our funds up to this point. But certainly, it makes sense, I think, to move forward and have this approved finally this evening.
Any other comments from any board members? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council? Yes. Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Next item for motion, consideration motion. I submit a motion to approve an ordinance providing for specific reductions of the 2022 property tax levy pursuant to the property tax extension limitation law.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, discussion, trustee Lautner?
And no additional comments, Mr. President.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva? The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Julie, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make one clarification or point out one update here. As Trustee Lautner appropriately noted, a lot of the information that was included in the next year's tax levy extension was based on preliminary numbers because we were waiting for the 2021 data. If you look at this agenda item within your packet, on the second to the last page, the page just before the CPI page, you will see that all of the calculations have been updated, and I just wanted to draw your attention to those numbers. That's all I what it is say. Thank you.
Julia. Continue on, trustee Lautner.
Thank you. Third motion for discussion, consideration, and voting is I submit a motion to approve an ordinance abating the tax hereto levied for the year 2022 to pay the principal of and interest on $3,495,000 general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2014 of the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, trustee Lautner.
No additional comments, Mr. President.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes?
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
And fourth and final motion for consideration, I submit a motion to approve an ordinance abating a portion of the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2016 of the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois.
Second.
Discussion, trustee Lautner.
No additional comments, Mr. President.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes?
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
I believe that concludes the items from the finance area this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Lautner. Moving on to other reports, our village clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
We don't have a village treasurer yet, so
Soon.
soon. Let's see, village engineer. Mark? Our village attorney.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. And then our commercial revitalization committee, trustee Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2022 Business of the Year. Congratulations to Strive for Fitness for being awarded Business of the Year by the LaGrange Park Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber presented the honor during its annual dinner on October 6th. Located at 712 East 31st Street in LaGrange Park, Strive for Fitness offers a variety of strength training classes and personal training. This month they celebrated their 6th anniversary in business, as well as their 1st anniversary neighboring Level Up Cafe and Recovery. Winter Tree Wonderland. Many of the Chamber of Commerce members will take part in creatively decorating trees for all to see in Memorial Park this season. Be sure to walk through this Winter Tree Wonderland during the village's annual tree lighting ceremony on Friday, December 2nd. Small Business Saturday. Shopping and dining on Small Business Saturday is one way to show appreciation for local businesses, especially those we've depended on during the pandemic. The village encourages residents to shop local on Saturday, November 26th, and share photos on social media to help promote LaGrange Park businesses. You can also email pictures to Sandy Bakalich at sbakalich@lagrangepark.org. And lastly, Commercial Revitalization Committee. The next CRC meeting will take place on Tuesday, December 13th at 6 p.m. at Village Hall. Businesses and members of the public are invited to attend and provide input on how the village can best support new and existing businesses and enhance the commercial areas in LaGrange Park. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, trustee Stewart. Okay, committee and collectors report, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have one item, two items actually. Congratulations, JG, as trustee Zora said on your graduation, and you wore your outfit that you wore to graduation too, I'll bet, huh?
Right. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Okay, one item, general background. State statute requires public bodies to provide notice of scheduled meetings prior to the start of each calendar year. Staff put together a list of proposed dates for the 2023 calendar year that continues. The village's board established meeting schedule of a work session on the second Tuesday and a regular village board meeting on the fourth Tuesday of each month. One exception to this pattern is the month of December, where there's one combined meeting, a village board meeting scheduled for December 12th, 2023. In August, the annual schedule of regular meeting dates for 2022 was amended, and the Village Board of Trustees work session meeting for August was canceled. The attached draft schedule recognizes this decision and reflects one Village Board of Trustees meeting in August. Therefore, there's an action requested. If a trustee would care to read that action item and Trustee Zora, would you care?
A motion to approve a resolution approving the annual schedule of regular meeting dates for 2023.
A motion, a second?
Second.
All those in favor, well, we got the vote. Call the roll?
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Trustee Zora. Any public participation? Seeing none, any new business? Seeing none, motion to move into closed session?
Submit a motion to move into closed session. One, for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C1, and 2, for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C, not to return to regular session until the next regularly scheduled meeting on December 13th, 2022 at 7:30 PM in this room.
Second.
A motion, a second. Megan, call the roll?
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. We'll move into executive session. We'll go into the boardroom.